Hello everybody and welcome back to Teresa's Corner. I am Teresa Ruiz. Thank you all for choosing to spend your time with me. This is just a regular soda bottle. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make this step by step. I want to show you also, I have this method of hanging bottles, but I also have this here. This is a regular clear pot, and this is how this one, look at the roots. Beautiful roots. Okay, I'll show you how they both hang in a minute, but normally what I use to hang these are these S hooks. I love these things. So if I have baskets or if I have my bottles or like I said any pot, I normally just make a hole. So you can see there, you see that hole right there? That's where the S hook goes, just like this, and I hang my orchid. Alright, so these bottles, I did this back in 2019, and the reason I did it is because, so I love orchids, right? And I love when they're mounted or when they're just mounted on a tree, palm trees, or anything like that. Just, you know, mounted, that's just how I love. Unfortunately, I can't really do that. I tried it on a fowl when I first moved here and it died. I don't know if it was because it got too cold or because it didn't have enough water. I'm not sure. I was gone for a few months. When I came back, it was completely dry. I'm thinking my mother just forgot to water it, but I can't blame her for it. And I just didn't want to try it again. I didn't want to lose any more orchids. So the best thing was to reuse these bottles. Quite a few of you guys asked me if I can actually do a tutorial on how to do these. So I'm going to go ahead and do that today, okay? So let's get started. So what you'll need for this, I'm going to put this aside. So what you need for this are some clean bottles. I have two here because I actually have two orchids that I want to put in these bottles. Alright guys, so this is what you'll need for these bottles. You're going to need either some chain. You can buy this at any hardware store. You will also, if you choose to go with the chain, you're going to need some needle nose and some type of wire cutters or pliers, whatever you want to use. If you go with the chains, you're going to need this, or you can also use this with the 550 cord that I'm going to show you. It's not required to use with a 550 cord. You're going to need these eye bolt with nuts, and what it is this right here. It almost looks like a little key to me with a nut. They come in different sizes. This one's much thicker. You can use whatever size you want. It's up to you. As you can see, this one has a screw tip. And that's because I use these for my mounts. Either these or these. And they come in different sizes. Right? And you can use whatever you want. These are the hooks that you would use to, say to like for hanging baskets or anything like that. You would screw these onto your ceiling or wall or something like that, right? And all you see is the hook. And this is where you would hook your basket. You're going to need any of these, whatever size you choose to. I go with these for the bottles. Now the second method would be using 550 cord, and it's just cord. It's named, or I know it to as 550 cord. The reason for is because it holds about 550 pounds of weight. Right? Obviously these pots are not going to get that heavy, but it's just a regular cord. You can buy it at any store. I've seen them at Walmart. You can buy it on Amazon, wherever you like. If you use the cord, you're going to need a lighter. You're also going to need a Sharpie. You're going to need your bottles. You're going to need some sandpaper. Might be required, might not be. You're going to need some pair of scissors, or you can use some X-Acto knives, whatever you want to use, right? These are all the tools you're going to need. S-hooks, optional. That's it, guys. Let's get started. Let's see. You'll need your bottles, and I've already made the holes on mine here, on both of them. So what you'll need to do is make 3 holes. 1, 2, 3. You see that? Where my fingers are at? And it doesn't matter because it will balance itself out. So just make 3 holes. I have mine 1, 2, 3. I used a solder gun that I have to make those holes, and I did it on both of them. Okay, so those are the bottles. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna make 2 circles, right? Because you want to make 2 cuttings. One where the orchid is gonna go through. 2 where you're gonna be able to water and put more media if you need to. So you want to leave about a few inches of reservoir, right? So I would just assume that I'm gonna use up to this line right here. I'm gonna add rocks up to probably that level. To keep a nice water reservoir, and then when it gets some sunlight, it's going to create some humidity, and you know, it's going to keep it nice and humid in there and hydrated. Then I want about this much of media in there. So you see this line right here? I'm going to make my circle right above it. So and it's more like a half circle. See that? And on the other side, I'm going to make the same thing. It's just slightly higher. And your circle, the size of your circle is going to depend on the size of your orchid, okay? For this instance, these are the 2 orchids that I'm going to put in the bottles. This one here, so you can see it's quite large and it has pretty good root system. I'm about to pull it out just so you see. It has a lot of dry roots. I want quite a big opening, but not too big, because remember, you don't want the orchid to fall out. This one was doing so good on the pot, but for some reason it keeps getting mold. And then I have this one here, rootless. But like I said, I have pretty good faith that the humidity that these bottles are going to create is going to actually be good for this orchid. So those are the 2 that I want to put. So what you want to do after you've made your holes, right? So you want to take your knife and you want to carefully insert it. It is very sharp and it's going to slip. As you see, it already slipped, and I went a little past where I wanted to cut, but it's fine. So I'm just going to apply pressure, stick it in there, and carefully make that cut. Don't worry if you go a little too far, or if you're not cutting along the lines that you drew, it's fine. You just have to be very careful not to cut yourself. Alright, so my second one is going to be slightly higher. So here I went about a 1/4 inch above my line, just because I changed my mind. But that's pretty much it. That's our bottle right there. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing to the other one, and I'll get back to you guys in a minute. You don't need the sanding paper. I like to have it just handy in case I do have some edges, but right now I don't. I was able to actually cut them out with the scissors, so as you can see, it's pretty smooth. This is up to you. Just have to make sure that you don't have edges, you know, sharp edges. I have one right here, so I'm gonna try to cut it out. Because it can damage your orchid, right? But I'm just gonna take my sandpaper. I have one here that I can't quite get it. There we go. I couldn't get it. If you feel unsure, you can just take your sandpaper and there, it's gone. All right. So I've cut both my bottles to where I want them. One is slightly larger than the other one. There's no need to make it this large. I kind of went a little overboard, but it's fine. I even went a little too low on one of them, but it's fine. I'm actually going to put the orchid on the smaller side. Now that you have your bottles, you have to determine how long do you want these. So I know that on my previous bottles that I used, I had about a foot long side, and you want to make it even. So I don't want this one to hang too long because I use these S hooks. So this is about 6 inches added to my foot, right? I want to make my cut slightly larger because I'm going to make my knot, right? I'm going to make my knot, and this part is going to be on the inside of the bottle. Instead of using the nuts like I would on these, I'm going to measure 3 even sides, right here. So that's 2 right there, and 3. Because I'm going to cut here, I'm going to make my knot. So make sure you have some good scissors, because like I said, this is 550 quart. It does not break easily. You need something sharp. And I'm going to take my lighter because I don't want it coming undone. And I'm pretty much sealing my tip. I'm cutting the other tip here. So I've sealed all my tips. If you don't, this is what it's going to look like. Eventually it's going to start falling apart. So I'm going to make my other knot. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to stick your hand in here and you're going to slide it in through the hole. You see that right there? So if you noticed, I left this side, I didn't cut this third side here, right? So I left it there because this is what I'm going to do. And just bear with me because this is the first time I use this. I do this with the string, so I'm kind of experimenting myself. But then I'm going to slide in the side that doesn't have the knot. So there, I have my bottle. See that? It's not going anywhere. Now I have my cord here. And so right here, I'm going to make a knot. And you see this loop right here? It's going to create that hook that I'm looking for, or that loop that I'm looking for, so that I can hang my hook, or that I can attach it to like a branch or something like that. That's why I didn't cut the second one. You see that? And now I have my bottle, my loop. That's it. Alright, so we're gonna move on to the one with the chain, right? Now that I've done the one with the 550 cord, you guys, I've realized that it's much easier. So just for this purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how normally I would do it. I'm actually not going to do it because I want to use the 550 cord on both of them, okay? But you would take your bolt with the nut, right? You insert it. This is also a little harder too. You take the bolt inside and you screw it on all the way to the top, as far as you can take it. See that right there? This is where now knowing what I know, I would take my hot glue gun and I would add some hot glue here to keep the screw from coming undone. Because like I mentioned, I do have quite a few bolts on my other bottles that are in there now, and they're creating rust. Now, I don't know if that's going to affect my orchids. I'm just letting them be until I see some actual damage to them. But this is why I don't want to use these without using the hot glue gun, the hot glue. Right, so that's how this would look. Now, so what I'm going to do is same concept, right? I'm going to measure about a foot on each side, because that's how long I want it. Actually, this one I would do about 9 inches, because remember I have the S hook that adds another 6 inches. So for this one, this is probably the length I'm gonna use right here. And I do make it shorter because I don't have to cut anything, I don't have to tie anything. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm not detaching the links here, right? That's the same thing as me not cutting my cord. The only one I'm gonna detach is the third link here. So you take your needle nose, you take your pliers, you hold it, and then you pull away, and that opens up your chain. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the other one. So I'm gonna do the same thing with my other end. The reason I want to do this is because I'm gonna insert this here on this hook where I want it hanging, right? So then I'm gonna take my needle nose, I'm gonna take my pliers, and like I said, this method is slightly more difficult than the other one, but I thought it would be more durable. You see that? I'm just taking my hook, I'm closing it, and there it is. But that's perfect, right? So now, say I had used my other hook, I'm gonna do the same thing here, attach it, and you see this here? This is why I opened up my third chain all the way, because now I'm going to insert it at the halfway point right there. Now I'm going to close. For this one, you might want to grab your pliers because it's going to move and you don't want to pinch yourself with it. You see how I created this Y three-way chain? That's exactly what you want. Now you secure, you would add your hooks, right? Or your bolts. Assume you have all of your bolts inserted. I'm going to go ahead and just, alright, and you're going to attach your chain to all 3 of your bolts, and what you end up with is this. Alright guys, so this is what my bottles look like. One with about 6 inches cord, the other one with about alright, so what you'll need for the potting process is going to be some bark and some type of rocks. You want to use lava rocks, ceramics, whatever you want to use. I just suggest not to be too small because your drainage is quite big of an opening. Even if it's small, don't worry, once you pack it, it'll be too packed. Maybe you'll lose 1 or 2 rocks. And I would suggest something slightly larger. So you'll need something to make it easier for you to fill the bottle, right? So I'm using this container here, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your rock and you're gonna insert as much as you want. And this all depends on how you want it, how big you want your reservoir. Now, you don't have to keep water in the reservoir. Check this out. 1 or 2 might fall out, but once you're in there, they'll eventually get to a point. I like doing this, right, a few times, and eventually they'll get stuck on their own there. See that? Once I get to that point, I just continue adding rocks. Like I said, as much as you want. During the summer, I like to keep my water full of reservoir because they are sitting outside. The sunlight does hit them, so all that water evaporates and it creates a lot of humidity, and they tend to like that. Eventually the roots will make it down. You don't have to worry about it too much. Now that I've done that, right, I want to make sure that place my orchid somewhere not all the way in. This one I am going to have to, I think I might even stake it a little bit. I have to figure out, because remember, it's rootless. I have to figure out how to keep it in there. It's a little soft here, so I don't know if it already got some crown rot. I don't think so, but so you see how it naturally falls downwards? That's how I'm going to insert it there. Try to figure out how to hold it in place. I have this bamboo skewers. I think if I tie it like this, I should be able to insert it sideways and add all the media. So move this side to the side. This is a bamboo skewer, you guys. You can use whatever you want. So I'm gonna make a little knot. Insert my bamboo skewer there. So I'm gonna wrap it. I'm gonna slide it in there. I'm gonna slide it over the bamboo, under the bamboo, or the skewer, I'm sorry, over the skewer, under one more time. I'm really not tying it because eventually I want to be able to pull the bamboo skewer. You see that? There, should be able to hold in place. I've inserted my orchid. It looks like my little skewer is holding it in place. Start dumping bark in there. This one without the roots is going to stay indoors until the summer. Now if you wanted to, before I forget, you can add some moss to kind of wick that that water in there. I'm not too worried about it because, like I said, that reservoir there will create a lot of humidity in here. Even during the winter when they're just sitting out there and the sunlight hits it, you can see the condensation on the bottles all the way to the top. So I really don't have to water that often, you guys. Hopefully you can see that a little better. I did use chunkier bark on my other ones. Unfortunately, I don't have any chunkier. This is all I have. See that? Beautiful. Alright guys, here is my tree. As you see, I have a lot of orchids out here. Alright guys, this is gonna get a little bumpy. I had to remove my camera from the tripod to show you guys because there's a lot of sunlight out here. Okay, so these two are the final product. These are the two that I just did. And as you can see, they hang pretty much at the same level, maybe a few inches lower. This one's lower, a few inches lower than the other one, but that's because remember that was the longer one. Now this one is one of my first ones that I made with the chains, and you can see here the hot glue that I had to use. But you see the condensation in the bottles? It's just receiving a little sunlight up here. The orchid's sitting in shade, but the sunlight where it's hitting it, there's condensation. So that's what I'm talking about with the humidity that it gets created in there. It's got some good roots in there. Let me show you guys. This is the issue that I'm having with those, right? I didn't add glue beforehand. I lost the nut in there. And actually, you might be able to see it there. You see that? The rust still works just fine. Like I said, I added the glue, so it's holding. But this is why I decided to show you that second method so you didn't have to deal with this. Alright guys, this is it. This is the final product. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you have any questions, comments, concerns for me, do leave those in the comments below. I do review my comments on a daily basis, and I do respond to them. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and clicking the little bell to receive notifications of when I post. I do post at least once a week. Alright guys, well, you guys have a good day. Bye.